Our top lead this evening. A wedding, ladies and gentlemen, is a big day for any bride. There are a million things to think about: the clothes, the food, the guests. You don't want anything to go wrong. And when something does go wrong, you simply move on. There is too much to do and think about. Not Virali Modi. Virali got married on Monday and has since started a conversation on behalf of 1 million people who are dependent on wheelchairs for their mobility in India. On Monday, when Virali went to register her marriage at the registrar's office in Mumbai's car, a shock awaited. There was no lift, there was no ramp, and the registrar was on the second floor. He refused to come down because the biometrics that the couple would need was attached to a computer that could not move. So Virali's family simply had no choice but to carry her, along with her wheelchair, to the second floor where the registrar was. Most brides, ladies and gentlemen, would have put pictures of their wedding on Instagram. So did Virali, with a question: is this fair? Virali Modi is joining me on the broadcast Top of 8. Virali, congratulations on your wedding, first of all. How does it feel?
It feels very normal, I would say. So Kshitij and I had a love marriage, so it feels very normal, going with the flow kind of a thing. Very happy, let's say.
Virali, your wedding is something that has also started a conversation in this country, a conversation that this country and primetime television needs to have. Do tell our viewers what exactly happened on your wedding day.
So I got married on the 16th of October, just 3 days ago. And prior, so I had a court marriage done. I went to car at the registrar's office. And before coming there, I had booked an appointment and I had spoken to the agent there, and I'd let him know. I told them that I'm disabled. I am on a wheelchair. I cannot walk. So I cannot climb any stairs or anything. They totally failed to tell me that there are stairs at the registrar's office. It's on the second floor without a lift. So I went to the registrar's office on the date at the time given, and my husband, Kshitij, and my mother-in-law and my friends and family were all surprised to know that the office is on the second floor with no lift. They went upstairs and they requested the registrar to please come down for the certification. And he flat out denied, and he said no. He said that their biometric system is attached to a desktop, which they can't bring down. So I had to be carried by my husband and by my friends and family with my wheelchair up 2 flights of stairs in an old government building where the steps are so high and so steep that I was fearing for my life. I was fearing for my loved ones' lives. And we got married and everything, but at that point I decided that I'm going to raise my voice about this issue, because it's not about the registrar, it's not about the agent, it's about the government. According to the Disability Rights Bill of 2016, government offices especially need to be disabled friendly, which this was not. And it's high time now that the government realizes that this is the need of the hour and implementation needs to be done.
This was your big day. And in the tweet that you put out, you said, "I'm not a luggage that needs to be carried." In that moment, why did you think you were a burden? Why did you think you were a luggage? It's not something any bride should feel, anyone should feel actually, but why did you see it?
Yes, I felt as if I was at the railway station and a porter is carrying me. I felt as if a piece of luggage. I should not have to be treated this way on my wedding day, let alone any other day. But especially when it comes to your big day, every girl, every bride, every groom, they have their own perception of how things are going to play out. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I didn't need to go through what I went through. And I mean, Yeah, I felt like a piece of luggage. I felt like a bag that was being carried all the way upstairs while I was fearing for my life on my wedding day. I should not have to feel that way.
You know, when things like this happen, you feel that India's disabled population, and it's a sizable population, is invisible. There are no conversations around them in public domain unless something that like this takes place, unless something like this goes viral.
Let me be very honest with you. If something doesn't happen, like if a situation doesn't happen, do you think people are going to listen? People or any government official is going to listen? People don't. I have been a motivational speaker since 2016, 2017. I go on and I talk about disability awareness, the need for accessibility. But has it made that much of a difference? The only time it's made a difference is when some kind of traumatic situation has happened to me. That's the only time it's made a difference. And that's very sad. Our opinions and what's the need of the hour, it's not taken into account for. And more than that, people are just not raising their voice. People are not talking about it. Right now, the tweet that I posted on X, people are now talking about the things that they have faced, say 10, 15 years ago, or even 2, 3 years ago. But at that point of time, no one seriously, no one has spoken about it. When something like this happens, and when someone decides to raise their voice, that is when change comes about. That is when people are open to having conversations. Otherwise, people are not.
You know, India's invisible minority is wants basic rights. It wants dignity, not just a softer or a politer way to address them. Could you tell our viewers what it is like to be a wheelchair user in India trying to access civic infrastructure, even in a city like Mumbai?
Let me paint you a very bittersweet picture. As a wheelchair user, I cannot walk. I cannot even move my legs. I can't even move my toe. The moment that I step out from my flat, I am faced with barrier after barrier after barrier, which other people are not. When I leave my society, I have to go through speed breakers and everything in order to get a rickshaw, in order to even sit in a cab. Post that, going anywhere, even in public transportation, it's not possible. I just want to say one thing. Every one of you that is watching is temporarily abled. And yes, that is very bittersweet. And I say that because कभी ना कभी कहीं ना कहीं आपको व्हीलचेयर की जरूरत पड़ेगी. You will need a wheelchair. You will need the help of any kind of assistive mobility device. And at that point of time, when you are stuck at home and you realize that you cannot go anywhere because of the lack of accessibility, that is when you will realize how severe the problem really is. So, right now, to all of my viewers, to all of the people who are viewing this, to the government officials taking care of this matter, you need to put yourself in my shoes. Rather, you need to put yourself in my wheelchair and try to understand the difficulty that me and crores of people face on a daily basis. There are people who've not even left their house for, say, 10, 20, or 20 years because of the lack of accessibility. Try putting yourself in those shoes, in their shoes. Tell me how you would be secluded from the world, to not even meet your friends and your family, and to not be able to do anything that you love. You are just stuck at home. Try and imagine that for 1 second. And that is why it is important for it is the need of the hour. Accessibility is the need of the hour. This is why we need it, and this is why it's important, because this is basic human rights. Not having accessibility is a human rights violation. And I say that with confidence.
You know, as someone who has negotiated India's urban spaces on a wheelchair, what are the three things every city in India needs to look at to make the city and its public infrastructure more accessible to people like you?
First of all, this is for the public. When you're seeing a place that doesn't have a ramp, raise your voice. You have no idea the power in numbers. My tweet is just one example of that. Raise your voice. It is by the law, it is mandatory to have accessibility, to have ramps, lifts in place. And if there isn't, you need to raise your voice. You need to do your due diligence. The second thing, which I am going to do, is raise a petition, an online petition, and take it up to the higher reps. Because that's what needs to be done. That is important. And I want them to listen to me. And I'm going to get them to listen to me. If needed, I do not mind going all the way to court. I do not mind. I will do that because this is about human rights. And if I am able to work with any government official and get the basic things done, I would want to do that. But what's needed right now is we need ramps everywhere. We need more accessible roads and street, more accessible public transportation. You see everywhere in the foreign, there are ramps to get into the bus. Where is that here? We need that. India is a developing nation. We are we are counted as a powerful nation. So why isn't this implemented here? Why isn't this being done? We don't need talk, we need action. And that's what needs to be done. So my request to the government, please look into this. Let's work together. Let's get things done. Let's make India more accessible and an accessible nation for one and for everyone. That's what needs to be done.
Virali, thank you very much for joining us, and many congratulations on your wedding. Once again, your wedding, as I said, has started an important question, in fact, an important conversation on the behest of the 1% of our population that is disabled. I hope the powers that be are listening to you. Thank you very much. Someone, though, has listened to you. Priyanka Chaturvedi, MP from the Shiva Sena, the Uddhav faction. She has written a letter to the BMC as well on your case. Priyanka, thank you very much for joining us. I've just finished speaking to Virali. Could you tell me what drew you to Virali's case? Why you decided to pick this up?
I think it definitely needs intervention simply because we are seeing a lot of such spaces that are being developed, are built, and over the years that we haven't made it inclusive. Our urban spaces are not inclusive. And it's time that when we speak about Disabilities Protection Act, etc., that we implement it in totality. And what I found extremely insensitive was the attitude of the staff at the registrar's office. And this is something that many people over the years have faced. And the hypocrisy of it all, that in some cases where VVIPs are concerned, you see the registrar's office laying down the red carpet for welcome for them, while when ordinary people are trying to register their weddings, etc., they face these kind of hurdles. But especially in her case, I thought it goes against the rights that are given to every citizen of this country. It is insensitive, and it is time that the government bodies also hold themselves accountable. And the reason why I did that was because I felt it was a very inhumane way of approaching someone who is differently able.
Priyanka, you, like Virali, live in Mumbai. This is India's financial capital, a mega city where wheelchair-bound people find it very hard to access a restaurant, access a cinema hall, access even the registrar's office. Has India turned blind towards people with disability? Are we the ones disabling them by denying access to them?
I totally agree with you because there is this entire factor of invisibilization, not wanting to see, not wanting to create spaces which are inclusive, not thinking of all sections of society before you build the infrastructure. That is a huge challenge. We saw it in the old parliament as well. That, oh, of course, it was an old parliament and it needed reworking. But however, this is how things have functioned. But in the times we live in the societies we live in the cities we live in, I think it is high time we prioritize creating inclusive spaces. And this, this creating the outrage in itself shows that people are sensitive to this cause. People are hoping for, expecting better from its elected representatives as well as government bodies, which, while we have an act in place, are not implementing it themselves.
Last question. Is it a bit unfortunate, because I do think it's a bit unfortunate, that if it is not on social media, it doesn't exist?
Absolutely. I think that the voices somehow get silenced or get ignored. And I must say, I've visited various parts of the world, and people are conscious of the fact that they have to create these spaces while India just totally continues to talk about it. But in terms of having action oriented programs and implementation and infrastructure building, we are ignoring it. So it's high time that, elected representatives as well as those who are in positions of power, may bring them into the mainstream, talk about them, ensure that we create the sensitive staff that is needed, that we include them in all the spaces that we build for our future generations to come. So I think while this is a good reminder of where we are and how things are for those who are differently able, but it's also a wake-up call that it's high time we spoke up and we included them in these spaces which till now, where they have been invisibilized literally.
We leave it there for the moment, Priyanka. Thank you very much. As I said, I hope the powers that be are watching and listening. You certainly did watch and listen. You've written a letter to the BMC. I just hope that there is a lift that gets installed at the registrar's office in Mumbai. Ladies and gentlemen, 1% of India's population is disabled. Many of them have to use wheelchairs for their mobility. They are invisible. Their issues don't get addressed. So next time you see a story like that, please sit and watch and please voice your opinion. It's important. It's important for you to speak about issues that matter to citizens in this country.